everyone! Today I'd like to talk about the Apothecary Diaries. Although the author clearly stated that the setting is fictional, there are some very obvious inspirations from ancient Chinese culture. As a Chinese viewer, I couldn't help noticing some fascinating details. In this two-part series, I'll explore the historical inspirations and hidden cultural symbolism in this anime. First, in today's video, we'll figure out which Chinese dynasty this anime is likely based on. Let's dive in! Important notes before we begin. I'm only referencing the anime here, not the original novel or manga. What I'm going to share is purely my own interpretation, take it with a grain of salt. And yes, spoiler alert, you've been warned. As most fans know, the Apothecary Diaries takes place in a fictional setting. But you'll notice the show pulls visual and cultural references from multiple dynasties in ancient China. And some of them are pretty specific. Let's break it down dynasty by dynasty. Let's start with the Ming Dynasty. The palace architecture in the anime closely resembles the Forbidden City, a royal complex from the Ming and Qing dynasties. China's palace design has pretty much followed the same tradition since the Sui and Tang dynasties, with Chang'an as the blueprint. That classic layout, central axis, symmetry, layered sections stuck around for centuries. And the palace in the anime, with its red walls and yellow roof tiles, it's not a stretch to think the design was inspired by the Forbidden City. Remember the place where Jinxi has a close call during the ceremonial scene? That structure appears inspired by Tiantan, the Temple of Heaven, also in Beijing. Built during the Ming Dynasty, it was a site where emperors prayed for good harvest and rain. In the anime, this location is called Cangqiongtan, in Japanese, Sokyudan. Cangqiong means vast sky, basically the same idea as Tian, sky. So Cangqiongtan is a poetic rephrasing of Tiantan. But here's something interesting. In Chinese, the character Tan uses the soil radical both in its traditional and simplified forms. If you're new to Chinese, you can think of radical as a bit like roots in English words. This reflects its meaning as an earthen altar. But in the anime, the Tan character is written with a wood radical, which actually refers to sandalwood in both Chinese and Japanese. So, was that a typo or a deliberate choice? Also, the Temple of Heaven isn't just one building. It's actually a whole complex. The architecture here is actually based on its iconic building inside the inner altar, called Qinian, the Hall of Prayer for Good Harvest. Another nod to the Ming Dynasty shows up in Season 2, where a glass mirror appears. It was introduced to China by European missionaries during the Ming period. Before that, people primarily used bronze mirrors. Let's take a look at the clothing. The Emperor's robe shows these round dragon designs, which were mostly set as a standard during the Ming Dynasty. But for regular wear, it usually had not just one, but at least 4 of these round dragon motifs. Also, the Emperor's robe was typically yellow. In the anime, women's clothing mostly reflect Tang Dynasty styles. High-waisted skirts paired with long flowing sashes and rich, elegant color patterns. Boldly exposing the chest was also a fashion trend during the Tang era. While the costumes seem inspired by Tang Hanfu designs, the author definitely added some creative twists. In history, the Tang Dynasty's imperial harem system in its early period was like this. The 4 main consorts was ranked as second only to the Empress consort were titled Guifei, Precious Consort, Shufei, Pure Consort, Defei, Virtuous Consort, and Xianfei, Wise Consort, which aligns well with the anime's portrayal. Also, the Empress Regnant in the anime naturally brings to mind the legendary Wu Zetian. But a key difference is that the Empress Regnant rules without officially ascending the throne, while in Chinese history, Wu Zetian is the only woman who actually became emperor. Other powerful women like Lü Zhi, the female regent of the Western Han Dynasty, or Empress Dowager Cixi, the dominant ruling matriarch of late Qing, ruled behind the scenes, were called empresses but never officially crowned. So the Empress Regnant might not be based solely on Wu Zetian. Interestingly, the character Li Xu's storyline, leaving the palace to become a nun, then returning, is a reminiscent of Wu Zetian's life. Wu Zetian was a low-ranked consort of Emperor Taizong. After his death, all childless consorts had to become nuns, including Wu Zetian. Later, Emperor Gaozong, son of Emperor Taizong, recalled her to the palace and made her a consort. The anime's author has said in interviews she was fascinated by Wu Zetian's story during her student days, so it's very likely this inspired parts of the character. The calligraphic style on this military banner closely resembles small seal script, 小篆, which was primarily used on flags from the warring states to Qin Han period. However, the anime also uses regular script, 楷书, which only became mainstream in late Eastern Han. What's more, chocolate mentioned in the anime was introduced to China's imperial court as an exotic delicacy during the Qing Dynasty. Actually, there are also some puzzling elements too. In the anime, a gun called feifa appears. It's not an English or Japanese word, and I couldn't identify a clear Chinese equivalent either. In the anime, it says that most feifa need to be manually ignited, which sounds a lot like a matchlock gun, 火神枪, or 火冲, for the time period. Meanwhile, the upgraded feifa from the western region is more similar to a flintlock gun, 碎发枪, and we can indeed see the flint mechanism on it, but none of this matched the pronunciation of feifa. I came across a discussion online suggesting that feifa might refer to an ancient Chinese firearm called feifa. The article says this feifa was in use from the 9th to 15th century, around the Song to Ming Dynasties. The way it's described, a pipe with a side hole that's packed with gunpowder and bullets, then ignited from that hole, sounds a lot like the Ming Dynasty's 火门枪, touch hole gun. After some research, I couldn't find any verified record of a firearm named feifa in ancient Chinese history. However, I discovered that during the Song Dynasty, there was a firearm called the Li Hua Qiang, which was also referred to as the Fei Huo Qiang by the Jin people. My random guess is that since Li Hua is already the name of a character, the weapon's name might have been creatively adapted, possibly combining Fei Huo and Li Hua into Fei Hua. Since Japanese phonetics don't handle the Hua sound well, feifa became the closest approximation. However, the real Song-era Li Hua Qiang is much more basic compared to the anime's feifa. So please tell me I'm wrong. Huh? And here is something else interesting. The hairpin is a traditional Chinese accessory and a token of love between couples. So that hairpin, Jingxi, if Mama, wasn't just a random gift. But in the anime, giving hairpins to many people to expand connections is unusual in Chinese culture. This practice feels more like the Japanese Valentine's Day custom of giving girichoko, friendship or courtesy chocolates, to many acquaintances, not just loved ones. Also, did you notice the frequent appearance of this decoration? The symbol, made of two 喜, happiness characters, is traditionally used in Chinese weddings to signify double joy. Seeing it everywhere really confuses me. Is it just decoration to add a Chinese vibe, or is there a deeper meaning behind it? Another confusing symbol, mooncake. Mooncake is a traditional Chinese delicacy eaten during the Mid-Autumn Festival as an offering to the moon goddess and a symbol of family reunion. But China has many traditional pastries like steamed buns and peach cookies that also appear in the show. Why do mooncakes, something rarely eaten outside of the Mid-Autumn Festival, appear so frequently? Could it be a symbolic connection to the moon and by extension, to Jingxi? Oops, wrong picture. There's a lot more I could talk about, but my point is, while the anime is set in a fictional world, its designs clearly draw inspiration from various Chinese dynasties, and even incorporate some modern elements, like this craft blooming flower teas, which only appeared in recent decades. Meanwhile, some features, like the fox mask, clearly originate from Japanese culture. So it's best to see the anime world as a creative blend rather than strictly tie it to a specific dynasty or historical period. And that's exactly what the author said. Ta-da! This video is based on books and online resources, aiming to add a little extra fun to the watching experience. There might be some inaccuracies here and there. Please feel free to correct me if you spot any. But please stay respectful and keep the culture discussion open and thoughtful. In my next video, I'll share more fun details and subtle Chinese cultural references hidden in this anime. So don't forget to subscribe and stay tuned. I'm Yu. See you next time. 下次见。喵。
とするほど鮮やかなスカイがあるんだとしたあなたの無理難題に答えてくその度に